Consistency is not a talent, it's a choice, a decision to show up, to push through resistance, and to do the work whether you feel like it or not. The man who forces himself to be consistent builds something far greater than success. He builds strength of character. Results don't come from occasional action, they come from daily discipline. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards the individual who follows through without fail. This is a call to eliminate excuses, to master repetition, to lead your subconscious, and to become a person others can depend on. If you demand more from yourself, everything else will rise to meet that demand. Desire is the spark that ignites all achievement. It is the starting point of every triumph and the seed of all success. But a spark alone does not build a fire. It must be fed, nurtured, and maintained through persistent action. You may sit for hours dreaming of success, visualizing victory, even feeling the emotions of future triumph. But unless those desires are followed by disciplined, daily effort, they remain phantoms, beautiful illusions with no power to create. The world is filled with individuals who have strong desires but no results. Why? Because they lack the iron resolve to apply consistent discipline to their ambitions. Desire without discipline is a dangerous delusion. It convinces you that wanting is enough. The tragedy of life is not a lack of desire, but the abundance of it without direction. Millions want to be wealthy, fit, respected, influential, but how many rise at dawn, stick to their plans, and march through discomfort to reach those goals? Desire alone cannot shape destiny. It must be partnered with the labor of self-control. You must command yourself to act, even when enthusiasm fades. You must push yourself beyond feelings and moods. True discipline is doing what must be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. The man who marries desire with discipline becomes unstoppable. He moves from being a dreamer to a doer, from a wisher to a warrior. The problem with most people is that they confuse intensity with consistency. They work hard for a week and then vanish for a month. They talk about goals with passion yet take no sustained action. They have 1,000 desires and not one daily habit. They chase motivation instead of building structure. But success doesn't come to the man who works hard occasionally. It bows before the one who works relentlessly, with unwavering discipline, even when no one is watching. If you truly desire greatness, then prove it. Not once, not for a week, but day after day, in the dark, in silence, with no applause, until results begin to speak on your behalf. You cannot buy success with enthusiasm. It demands discipline as its currency. You must train your mind to value discipline more than inspiration. When you feel like quitting, remember that your feelings are not in charge. Your standards are. Desire cries out for results, but discipline is what delivers them. Every time you ignore excuses and take action anyway, you cast a vote for the person you are becoming. You cannot sculpt a masterpiece with occasional effort. You need chisels of habit, patience, and persistence. Discipline is the architect of every empire, the author of every victory, and the key that unlocks every closed door. The most dangerous lie a person can believe is that desire alone is enough. That lie is seductive. It keeps people idle, stuck in dreams that never materialize. It allows them to blame circumstances instead of facing their own lack of action. But the truth is simple. If you are not disciplined, you will not win. Not in business, not in health, not in relationships, and not in life. The man who forces himself to stay the course when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's uncomfortable, he becomes a force of nature. He becomes the exception, the leader, the one others look to for guidance and inspiration. Discipline is the test that separates those who merely wish from those who achieve. The moment you begin to act on your desires with structured, consistent effort, the universe begins to shift. People notice, results emerge, momentum builds. But you must remain vigilant because old habits will try to return. Your laziness will whisper. Your mind will offer excuses. It is in those moments that discipline becomes your shield. Do not wait to feel ready. You will not. Do not wait for perfect conditions. They will not arrive. Take action regardless. Force yourself. Repetition is the proof of discipline, and over time, it becomes your advantage. It is not enough to want change. You must build the scaffolding of change through disciplined behavior. The man who disciplines his time is never poor in productivity. The one who disciplines his words is respected. The one who disciplines his emotions is powerful. Every act of discipline builds strength, and that strength becomes character. Character becomes destiny. If you control your actions, your future will not be left to chance. The undisciplined man becomes a victim of circumstances. The disciplined man becomes the creator of circumstances. Life does not reward you for what you want. It rewards you for what you work for. without fail. Desire is impatient. It wants results now. It dreams of the destination but resents the journey. Discipline is different. It falls in love with the process. It builds brick by brick, step by step, never asking for shortcuts. If you find yourself constantly quitting and restarting, it's because you have not yet developed discipline. You are chasing dopamine, not legacy. You are seeking comfort, not conquest. But if you ever want to see what you're truly capable of, stop relying on moods and start relying on structure. Your daily rituals matter more than your temporary excitement. Success is not magical, it is methodical. Discipline is not a trait you're born with. It is a decision made daily and reinforced through repetition. At first it's hard. Your body resists. Your mind complains. But every time you win that battle, you become stronger. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes automatic. That's the power of discipline. It transforms weakness into strength and chaos into order. You become a different person, not through dreaming, but through doing. You become someone who can be trusted, who finishes what they start, who doesn't break under pressure. And that kind of person, that disciplined person, is rare and in great demand. You must learn to discipline not only your actions, but your thoughts. Your mind will try to sabotage you. It will convince you that you've done enough, that you can relax, that tomorrow is a better day to start. These lies are the enemies of progress. You must fight them with truth. The truth is that every hour matters. Every decision compounds. Discipline requires you to think long-term, to see beyond today's pleasure and recognize tomorrow's reward. Discipline turns your back on distraction and keeps your eyes locked on the vision. It builds a mental fortress that laziness cannot enter. That is how you rise. The disciplined individual does not ask, "Do I feel like it?" He asks, "What must be done?" He treats his mission as sacred, not optional. He shows up, regardless of weather, mood, or obstacles. He understands that consistency is the highest form of loyalty to his goals, his standards, and his future self. If you want to be respected by others and yourself, be consistent. Be dependable. Be unshakable in your pursuit. Nothing earns the admiration of the world more than a person who refuses to quit, who gets up every time, who delivers regardless of circumstance. That person cannot be ignored. That person becomes legendary. There will always be people with more talent, more resources, more connections. But if you are disciplined, you will outlast them. You will surpass them. Discipline is the great equalizer. It levels the playing field. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters how relentlessly you show up. If you have the courage to discipline your life, your habits, your routines, your thinking, there is no limit to what you can achieve. So make the choice today. Will you be a person who only desires success, or one who demands it through discipline? The world belongs to the second. Choose wisely and act accordingly. If you're waiting for motivation, you've already lost. Motivation is a mood. Discipline is a decision. Make the decision to be the kind of person who doesn't stop. Make the decision to execute every single day without excuse. You are not a slave to laziness unless you choose to be. You are not held back by talent. You are held back by inconsistency. Bury your excuses. Destroy the habit of delay. Replace them with systems that serve you. Build routines that honor your ambition. The moment you align your discipline with your desire, your life begins to change. Not someday, but now. Desire without discipline is delusion. Act like you know it. Mastery is not a gift granted to the fortunate few. It is earned by those who are willing to repeat what others consider mundane. Repetition is the quiet builder of greatness, the slow and steady grind that transforms a novice into a legend. You do not rise by doing something once or twice. You rise by doing it 1,000 times. Until the action becomes second nature, until your mind and body respond without hesitation. The repetition you resist is the very process that will liberate you. The world honors the masters, but few want the labor that mastery demands. Every great performer, every powerful thinker, every dominant competitor was first a beginner, committed to practice, repetition, and refinement. Do not look for excitement in your journey to mastery. Look for effectiveness. The master finds meaning not in novelty, but in precision. They are obsessed with refining the same move, the same sentence, the same strategy, until it becomes flawless. You must become comfortable with the monotony of repetition. It is not glamorous, and it is not thrilling, but it is what separates the great from the average. The one who endures repetition is building something the world can't see yet, a fortress of skill, a weapon of excellence. Repetition is the invisible force that compounds over time. Each act may seem insignificant, but together, they shape a destiny. Those who chase variety often remain amateurs. They jump from one tactic to another, always starting, never finishing. They confuse movement with progress. But the man who chooses repetition, who returns to the same grind day after day, is forging a power others cannot understand. His skills are not scattered, they are focused. His mind is not restless, it is disciplined. He doesn't look for shortcuts, because he understands that every shortcut is a detour from mastery. So, the road to mastery is paved with repetition, carved with consistency, and walked with patience. The reward is not only skill but transformation. The mind, the body, and the soul evolve. Mastery demands that you embrace boredom. Yes, boredom. Because when you do something repeatedly, it stops stimulating your emotions. And that's the test. Will you continue even when the fire fades? Will you execute even when no one claps? If your answer is yes, you are on the path to power. Those who need to feel good to do good never get far. Masters do not rely on moods. They rely on method. They show up because it is their duty, not their desire. They know that repetition strengthens focus and sharpens instinct. What once required conscious thought becomes automatic. That is the miracle of repetition. It carves ability into your subconscious. The human mind is programmable, and repetition is the code. When you do something often enough, it becomes wired into your neural system. Your brain stops treating it as a choice and starts treating it as a command. This is how habits are formed, and this is how greatness is built. You do not need more information. You need more repetition. You don't need more books. You need to live the lessons you've already learned, every single day, until they become part of your identity. Discipline turns knowledge into action, but repetition turns action into instinct. And when excellence becomes instinctive, your success becomes inevitable. In the gym, the body responds to repeated strain. The muscles do not grow because you lifted once. They grow because you returned. You forced them to adapt. You gave them no choice but to respond. Your mind is no different. It adapts to what you demand of it consistently. If you want to become a master speaker, you must speak daily. If you want to become a master leader, you must lead daily. There is no mastery without mileage. No one reaches the top on theory alone. You must practice your way to power. Repetition is the gym of the mind, and each rep strengthens your capacity to lead, influence, and succeed. The man who practices the same fundamentals every day while others look for the next hack becomes untouchable. His foundation is unshakable. His skill is no longer conscious. It is embedded. This is why masters appear calm under pressure. They've rehearsed the moment 1,000 times before it arrived. When others freeze, the master flows. When others panic, he performs. And this calm is not mystical, it is earned through repetition. Your job is not to impress others with how many things you know. Your job is to pick the vital few and drill them into your bones until you are the best at them. Simplicity mastered is more powerful than complexity misunderstood. If you find yourself frustrated with your lack of progress, ask yourself, have I repeated the fundamentals enough, or have I merely dabbled, hoping for results without the grind? Success is not a mystery. It is a matter of doing the same right things for a long enough period of time. Repetition does not fail, people do. They quit too early, they move on too soon, they abandon the path right before it pays off. But those who endure, who keep repeating when it no longer feels exciting, are the ones who win. Because while the world applauds variety, it secretly admires mastery. And mastery belongs to the man who repeats. Repetition is a form of self-respect. When you return to your work again and again, you're telling the world, and yourself, that your vision is worth building, that your goal deserves the sacrifice, that you refuse to be mediocre. The man who repeats is not obsessed, he is committed. And commitment is the mother of all transformation. You cannot change your life unless you are willing to repeat new patterns until the old ones die. Every great achievement is the result of boring repetitions done with relentless faith. Success is not sexy in the moment. It is made of sweat, silence, and stubborn repetition. You will be tempted to quit. The path will feel slow. Your results will seem delayed. But that is the test. Can you continue without immediate reward? Can you persist when the process gets heavy? Those who do, ascend. Every master was once where you are, tired, doubtful, unimpressed with their own results. But they kept going. They chose to repeat rather than retreat. And in time, their repetition, they became trusted, respected, and followed, not because of talent, but because they could be counted on. Repetition gave them proof, and that proof built their influence. The world is noisy with people starting things. What it lacks is finishers. Those who master one thing through constant practice. Decide now to be the exception. While others chase variety, you will chase refinement. While they switch lanes, you will stay your course. While they burn out, you will rise quietly, steadily, undeniably. Your weapon will be repetition. Your legacy will be built one deliberate action at a time. Mastery is not for the impatient. It is reserved for the few who understand that repetition is not punishment, it is preparation. And preparation done right makes you powerful beyond belief. So when you wake up tomorrow and feel like skipping the routine, remember this. Repetition is your ally. It is the tool that molds your mind, conditions your habits, and sharpens your instincts. The mediocre seek variety, the average seek comfort, but the excellent seek repetition because they know it's the path to greatness. You cannot rise without it. You cannot lead without it. You cannot win without it. So choose the grind, choose the practice, choose the same steps again and again until they no longer feel like effort. That is when you begin to master your craft. That is when the world starts to take notice. Your subconscious mind does not argue, question, or resist. It accepts. It is a silent servant, constantly influenced by your words, your habits, your thoughts, and your behavior. What you repeat to it, daily, consistently, becomes your operating system. If you fill it with weakness, doubt, and excuses, it builds a reality based on those commands. If you feed it with strength, discipline, and success, it returns that to you in action and outcome. Your subconscious is always listening, always recording, always obeying, and it does not differentiate between truth or lie, ambition or fear. It simply takes in repetition and makes it real in your results. The most dangerous thing you can repeat is a negative identity. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I always fail, or I'm too late, your subconscious engraves that into your behavior. Soon, you'll begin to sabotage opportunities, avoid risks, and attract failure. Not because you're cursed, but because your mind was trained to expect it. What you rehearse in your inner world becomes visible in your outer world. You are never just thinking, you are programming. And the program you run becomes the life you live. That's why you must take command of your internal language and your external habits. Success is not just a result of what you do, it's a result of who you believe you are. And who you believe you are is shaped by what you consistently repeat. Tell yourself you're lazy long enough, and laziness becomes your truth. Tell yourself you're powerful long enough, and strength becomes your standard. This isn't magic, it's mental conditioning. Every affirmation, every repetition, every routine is a signal to your subconscious, this is who I am now. And once your subconscious accepts that identity, it begins to organize your life around it. Your emotions, your decisions, your behavior all shift in that direction. If you want to transform your results, you must first transform what you repeat. The process is not complicated, but it is demanding. You must be intentional with your inputs. Choose your words, choose your habits, choose your environment, because all of these are repeating signals that either elevate or destroy you. A single powerful thought, repeated enough times, will eventually override decades of doubt. But you must say it, act on it, and live it daily. Repetition is the hammer and your subconscious is the stone. It doesn't change overnight, but with consistent strikes it shapes into whatever you demand of it. Your subconscious cannot resist intensity paired with repetition. When you speak with conviction, when you act with purpose, and when you repeat both daily, you bypass resistance. You give your subconscious no room to debate, only to obey. That's why rituals are powerful. That's why writing your goals daily works. That's why affirmations matter when they're backed by belief and action. You are not just motivating yourself, you are programming yourself. That's why, and once your subconscious accepts a command, it activates opportunities, strengthens resilience, and increases clarity. Your vision becomes magnetic, your path becomes aligned. Most people use repetition against themselves. They repeat complaints, they repeat failure stories, they repeat blame, and they wonder why their life doesn't change. Your life is a reflection of what you've trained your mind to expect. Change your repetition and your reality will follow. This is not optional. This is law. Whatever you dwell on becomes dominant. Whatever you declare becomes defining. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you're conditioned for. And conditioning is nothing more than focused, intentional repetition over time. No one escapes this. No one bypasses this. Everyone is a product of it. If you want to dominate your field, elevate your mind. Start each day by feeding your subconscious with your vision, your purpose, your plan. Write it, speak it, walk it. Make it your morning, your night, and your thoughts in between. It's not overkill. It's reprogramming. You are not the same person you were yesterday if today you're repeating a higher standard. Most people stagnate because they repeat the same complaints, not the same commitments. But you, if you are wise, will repeat your goal until the world cannot ignore you. You will repeat your discipline until it becomes unbreakable. Your subconscious can't tell whether what you repeat serves you or hurts you. It just accepts the instruction. That's why you must become ruthless with your mental diet. Eliminate the vocabulary of limitation. Remove the rituals of weakness. Starve your doubts. Feed your confidence. Everything you do is either strengthening or weakening your subconscious identity. Don't hope your way to success. Train your way there. Your subconscious is your soldier, but it cannot fight for you if you fill it with fear. It can only fight with what you've armed it with. And repetition is your armory. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates belief, and belief creates behavior. That's the chain. So when you say you want to change, you're really saying, I must rewire what feels familiar to me. If chaos, laziness, and fear feel familiar, your subconscious will return to them unless you interrupt the pattern with deliberate, consistent repetition of power. This is why discipline isn't optional. It's how you manually override your programming. The first time you act with strength, it feels forced. The 50th time, it feels natural. That shift is not a miracle, it's repetition at work. When you see someone confident, bold, and decisive, know this. They weren't born that way. They built it. They repeated the habits of strength long enough until fear lost its grip. You have the same power. You can train your subconscious for courage, clarity, and conviction. But you must be intentional. Most people don't lose because they're incapable. They lose because they never command their mind. They let it drift, repeat nonsense, and then react to the consequences. But if you stand guard at the gates of your mind and feed it only what empowers you, your life will take on a new direction. You are always rehearsing something. The only question is what? Are you rehearsing your excuses or your excellence? Are you repeating your limits or your leadership? Every day is a chance to rehearse who you want to become. The choice is yours. Make no mistake, this is not about empty affirmations. This is about repetition backed by belief and behavior. When your words match your work, your subconscious listens. And once it listens, it begins to obey. And once it obeys, it begins to create. And once it creates, you rise. That is how the mind works. That is how success is built. The world you see is not separate from the world inside you. Your external reality is a mirror of your dominant internal repetition. If you want better results, feed your mind better commands. The way out is not louder effort, it's smarter repetition. If you keep telling yourself you're disciplined, you will begin to act that way. If you keep visualizing victory, your choices will begin to reflect it. This is not fiction. This is the framework of all transformation. Repetition builds the identity, identity builds the action, and action builds the future. Do not underestimate this. You are the author of your mental software, no one else. And the pen you write with is repetition. Whether you rise or fall will depend not on your talent, not on your motivation, but on what you rehearse when no one is watching. So speak life into your day. Act with intention. Think thoughts that lift, and do it again and again and again. Until it feels real, until it feels automatic, until it becomes you. Your subconscious obeys what you repeat. So train it like your life depends on it, because it does. Excuses are silent killers. They dress themselves as logic, but underneath, they are lies. They appear reasonable, but they are the reason you remain stuck. When a man commits to a routine, he makes a covenant with discipline. But excuses come like thieves in the night to break that covenant. Discipline and failure are problem solved if we consistently persist. I will never be fooled by sorrow, but instead practice they whisper. You're too tired, you've done enough, or tomorrow is better. And if you listen, you lose. Not just the day, you lose the foundation. Excuses are not harmless, they are cracks in your character, proof that comfort still has a grip on you. If you do not conquer your excuses, they will conquer your destiny. Your routine is a sacred structure. It is the builder of your identity, the protector of your purpose. Every time you follow through on your routine, you harden your resolve. But every time you entertain an excuse, you weaken your will. One missed day may seem small, but it signals to your subconscious that your word cannot be trusted. That weakness becomes embedded. You don't just fall behind. You become someone who breaks their own promises. Your character is shaped by what you do when no one is watching, and that character is what determines your outcome in life. Excuses are subtle. They don't scream. They suggest. And if you're not ruthlessly self-awareness, they'll convince you that breaking your routine is justified. Just this once, they say, but just once becomes twice. Twice becomes habit. And suddenly, you're back where you started, frustrated, defeated, wondering where your momentum went. It didn't vanish. It was stolen by the excuses you allowed. The man who respects his routine above his emotions will always rise. The man who negotiates with his excuses will always sink. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only asks one question: will you do what you said you would do? A strong routine does not require emotion. It requires decision. You don't wait to feel like doing the work. You do it because you've decided it matters. Excuses feed on emotion. They thrive when you base your actions on how you feel rather than what you've committed to. If your routine is built on feelings, it will collapse. But if it's built on principle, it will stand through storms. This is why masters seem robotic to the undisciplined. It's not that they're emotionless. It's that their emotions don't lead them. Their routines do. And their routines are protected by an unbreakable resolve to never excuse failure. The greatest threat to your routine is not fatigue, distractions, or obstacles. It is rationalization. The moment you begin to justify skipping the plan, you've already lost. Rationalization is the mind's way of disguising weakness as wisdom. It's the lie that says, skipping today is self-care, or you've earned a break. No, what you've earned is progress, and you only get that by showing up when it's hard. Routine is forged in resistance. Every time you override an excuse, you reinforce strength. The brain adapts, the body adjusts, the habit deepens. But if you give in, you train yourself to expect softness. Excuses are seductive. They offer short-term comfort at the cost of long-term consequence. They make you feel better in the moment and worse in the mirror. Every excuse you accept is a debt you'll have to repay, with time, regret, and lost opportunity. But when you refuse the excuse, you invest in your future self. You build credit with your destiny. You become someone others trust, someone you trust. Your name becomes associated with follow-through. And in a world addicted to talking, those who consistently act will always rise. Excuses are popular. Routine is rare. That's why routine creates power. Understand this. You do not rise by doing great things once. You rise by doing essential things daily. The world doesn't reward the occasional burst of effort. It rewards relentless consistency. And that consistency is always under attack by excuses. They show up disguised as reason, as rest, as reprieve. But they are always resistance. You must see them for what they are: thieves of potential. Your only defense is a non-negotiable routine, one that is followed regardless of emotion, weather, or circumstance. Because when you eliminate choice, you eliminate excuse. And when excuse dies, excellence lives. Every time you obey an excuse, you train your mind to break when pressure comes. And pressure always comes. Whether it's early mornings, long hours, or mental fatigue, life will test your commitment. Your routine is not built to avoid hardship. It is built to prepare you for it. Excuses, however, create fragility. They tell your subconscious, when it gets tough, we quit, and so you will. But if you stay the course, even when it hurts, your subconscious learns the opposite. We keep going, no matter what. That belief is worth more than talent. It is the root of all resilience. The greatest lie excuses tell you is that skipping one day doesn't matter. But that day isn't just a moment. It's momentum. Every day you complete your routine, you build the habit of victory. Every day you skip, you build the habit of surrender. The mind remembers. The body remembers. Your spirit remembers. And it either remembers strength or softness. Don't let one moment of weakness undo weeks of discipline. You didn't come this far to stop here. You came to dominate. And domination doesn't make room for excuses. It demands daily action, especially when you least feel like giving it. You cannot be both committed and convenient. The man who chooses routine must reject comfort. That doesn't mean you reject rest. It means you reject excuses disguised as rest. Real rest is earned through hard work, not justified by laziness. Protect your routine the way a soldier protects his post. It is your lifeline to growth. Break it, and you break progress. Honor it, and you become unstoppable. No success story was built on convenience. It was built on sacrifice, structure, and self-mastery. And all three begin with the courage to silence every excuse that tries to knock on your door. You are not the victim of excuses. You are their creator. And because you created them, you can destroy them. You have the power to decide that from this moment forward, your routine is law. Not suggestion, law. Not preference, command. The moment you see your routine as sacred, you begin to live like a person of purpose. The man of purpose does not dabble, he commits. And that commitment becomes his shield against excuse. You want power? Get disciplined. You want freedom? Get structured. Excuses are the language of the average. Routine is the rhythm of the relentless. Stop believing that motivation will save you. It won't. It fades. It lies. It disappears when you need it most. Routine is what stays. Routine is what carries you when emotion drops. And the more you practice it, the more it becomes your nature. Excuses may still whisper, but their volume drops. Because you've trained yourself to act regardless, and that, more than any secret formula, is the reason people win. Not because they're the smartest, not because they're the most talented, but because they don't let excuses interrupt the routine that leads to greatness. If you want to rise, you must kill the habit of negotiation. You must stop asking yourself if today is the day you'll show up. The answer must always be yes. No discussion, no delay. Your life depends on what you do daily, not what you intend. And your routine, executed without excuse, is the path. Follow it. Protect it. Master it. Because the man who defeats his excuses will never be defeated by life. The world doesn't trust flashes of brilliance, it trusts consistency. Talent may impress once, but only predictability builds legacy. If you can show up, do your work, and deliver results day in and day out, regardless of weather, emotion, or praise, you become invaluable. People rely on you. Systems revolve around you. Wealth and respect follow not because you were once great, but because you are always reliable. Predictable performance is power. It tells the world, you can count on me. And in a world full of broken promises and weak follow-through, that reliability becomes rare and highly rewarded. Being predictable is not boring. It is professional. It signals discipline, maturity, and strength. People who achieve greatness in any field, business, sports, leadership, do so because others know what to expect from them. They don't surprise people with last-minute energy. They build trust with daily execution. You don't have to be the loudest or the flashiest. You just have to be the one who never flinches under pressure. Predictable performance is your credibility. Every time you show up as promised, you build a reputation. Every time you fail to, you destroy one. A man who delivers once is impressive. A man who delivers always is unstoppable. The former gets applause, the latter gets promoted, trusted, and empowered. If you want to be irreplaceable, be predictable. Predictable in your effort, predictable in your results, predictable in your integrity. Emotion has nothing to do with it. Feeling tired, uninspired, or unappreciated doesn't give you a license to underperform. The world is not interested in your inner conflict. It's watching your consistency. Can you produce? Can you lead? Can you stay composed under pressure? If yes, you will rise. If no, you will be replaced. People want to invest in what they can count on. No one invests in chaos. If your performance is erratic, high one week, absent the next, you break trust. You become unreliable, and reliability is currency. When your name becomes associated with excellence, delivered consistently, your value multiplies. Clients return, leaders delegate, opportunities appear. You don't chase them, they chase you, because they know, if this person says yes, it's as good as done. That reputation only comes from predictable execution, not talent, not personality, just quiet, relentless delivery, the kind that builds empires over time. Predictability in performance is not about comfort, it's about control. It means you have mastered your time, your mind, and your energy to such a degree that outside factors can't shake you. You don't collapse under pressure, you execute. You don't rise and fall with moods, you maintain standard. And in that predictability lies your advantage. Most people are ruled by impulse. Their discipline disappears when motivation fades. But if you are built on routine and principle, you become stable. And people crave stability. They look for it, they reward it, and they follow those who possess it. Every time you show up without fail, you separate yourself from 95% of the world. Because most people are casual with their commitments. They say one thing and do another. They promise more than they produce. But if you are the exception, the one who follows through with no excuses, you rise fast. The world will test you with small tasks before trusting you with big ones. And the test is this: can you be consistent? Can you be predictable? Not for a day, but for years. Those who answer yes build legacies. Those who answer no disappear. The game is not about how good you are on your best day. It's about how solid you are on your worst. Anyone can perform when the conditions are perfect. Few can deliver when life is messy. That's why predictable performance is rare. It requires preparation, resilience, and focus. It means showing up when you don't feel like it, because your standards don't depend on feelings. The man who performs regardless of mood is the man who becomes indispensable. He doesn't just work, he wins. Because his work ethic isn't situational, it's foundational. And that's what the world rewards. Your value in any endeavor, team, business, relationship, comes down to this: can people count on you? When pressure rises, do you fold or focus? When deadlines approach, do you vanish or deliver? The answer defines your worth. Predictability creates trust, and trust creates influence. Once people trust your performance, they begin to open doors. They invite you to sit at tables others never see, not because you begged, but because your actions earned it. Predictability is not glamorous, it's not flashy, but it is the most respected trait in any winner's life. It separates the talkers from the doers. There is no shortcut to predictable performance. It is built through repetition, through mastering your routine, through honoring your word. You become consistent by choosing discipline over emotion. You don't wait for ideal conditions, you create results in any condition. This doesn't mean perfection, it means ownership. If you fall short, you recover fast. If you stumble, you self-correct. Predictability doesn't mean never failing, it means never disappearing. You stay in the game, you stay engaged. You show up with the same energy on Monday as you do on Friday, and that presence is your power. Too many people focus on intensity instead of consistency. They go hard for a week and burn out. They confuse motivation with mastery. But mastery comes from sustained effort over time. Small efforts repeated predictably beat big efforts done sporadically. If you can deliver 90% of your best performance 100% of the time, you will outperform those who deliver 110% every once in a while. Predictability beats perfection, because perfection fades. But predictability builds compounding results. You become trusted, followed, and elevated. Not because of hype, but because of history. You proved it daily. Your greatest competitor is not the world, it's your inconsistency. One day of distraction can undo weeks of progress. One excuse can disrupt a rhythm that took months to build. That's why you must guard your consistency like it's sacred, because it is. It is the foundation of your credibility. Every job, every relationship, every opportunity depends on it. People want results. If they can count on you, they'll keep you. If they can't, they'll move on. The world is not obligated to tolerate your potential. It rewards your performance. And the only performance that matters is the one you deliver repeatedly. Predictability earns you respect, not because you're flawless, but because you're faithful to your word, to your standard, to your process. You show up early, you stay late, you don't miss. And that dependability builds your name. In any field, the ones who rise are not always the most talented, they're the most trusted. Because the world cannot afford to gamble on inconsistency, but it will gladly invest in the man who is unshakable. Be that man. Build that reputation. Let your work be your signature, and let it always sign the same name: excellence, delivered on time. In the end, the world rewards those who can be counted on. Not once, not sometimes, always. If you want to stand out, don't be louder. Be reliable. If you want influence, don't seek attention. Deliver results. Show up without fail. Execute without drama. Be the person others can set their clocks to. Because in a world of chaos, the predictable man becomes king, and he doesn't need to announce it. His performance speaks for him.